Well, we have reached the end of hunting season for the 2021 year, I guess, is what we're moving into. I guess, though, technically there might be a few spots left in northern Alberta with special draws and that type of thing that someone can get out during the December and possibly into January as well. But for the most part, hunting season has come to a close in Alberta, and something interesting taking place. The Alberta Conservation Association is launching a new hunter survey. A real pleasure to welcome Robert Anderson. He's one of the senior biologists with the ACA and also the project lead on the project surrounding the survey. Robert, thanks very much and welcome to another interview. You and I have done this a few times.
Great, thanks. I appreciate it. Yes, it's yeah, as you said, hunting's kind of wrapping up for a lot of folks, but yeah, there's still opportunities out there. I know down in the southern part of the province, there's also some late season elk draws that people are still just kind of getting into now. So yeah.
So in terms of the survey itself, what's the purpose behind it?
Yeah, so this is actually this is part of a larger initiative, I guess, where we're trying to get a better understanding of what maybe some of the barriers might be for people who might be interested in getting into hunting, or maybe they used to be into hunting and they've sort of lost some of their interest. What are the barriers for getting those people re-engaged or getting new hunters involved in hunting? And one of the things that we have heard is that just getting land access or finding places to go hunting might be something that some hunters find as a challenging. So we've been sort of looking at this through a couple of different surveys. This is our second survey in a series, and we're trying to get a better understanding of the relationship between private landowners and hunters and what's working and what maybe do we need to work on.
So you bring up the private landowner question, and of course, last season or earlier this year, you introduced the landowner question dealing with hunters. So obviously these two, when this one is done, you're going to be able to correlate all sorts of responses and kind of paint a pretty clear picture as to whether or not landowner access for hunters is one of the major issues.
Yeah, so we did do a survey earlier this year where we asked landowners to provide their experience, what their experience and what their perspective and what their kind of view on allowing hunting on their private land was. We really wanted to know, do you allow hunting, first of all, of people, others to hunt on your land, and what are the things that seem to be working and aren't working? And we got an absolutely amazing response to that. We had over 2,000 landowners who filled out our online survey and provided us with some amazing feedback. And so, we've got some great news. We've got some other things that we'd identified that are concerns and that I'm sure people will want to be working on. And now we're now wanting to hear the hunter side of it, just so that we have the whole picture. And so that's what this survey coming up starting this week is going to be focused on, is the hunter side of things and what has their experience been with getting hunting permission on private land. And again, specifically from landowners that some of you have to ask for permission from. So, a lot of people, might have their own land. So yeah, they do a lot of hunting on private land. But really what we want to know is for those who actually have to ask somebody else for permission to hunt on their land, what has their experience been and what's working and what are some of the challenges that they face? So
then can I assume that at the end of the day, when everything is in and you've had a chance to look at both the landowners and the hunters, that perhaps some kind of a program or guidance is going to be coming from the ACA and maybe other conservation groups on how best to access whether it be private lands, public lands, what have you, to make it easier for folks to get into the hunting activity?
Yeah, well, really, I think from my perspective, my biggest goal, what I would love to see coming out of this is just positive relationships between landowners and hunters. Landowners who are continue to be willing to allow hunters to come and be willing to share, the resource that they are stewarding, and also hunters who are interacting with landowners in a very respectful way and building those positive relationships. And so, yeah, coming out of this is something that we want to, share the things that we learn. But it's not just the Alberta Conservation Association that's involved in this project. I mean, yes, we're kind of spearheading it. We're sort of the biologists and who are kind of working on designing and then analyzing the data. But really, we've had input from a whole wide group of folks and organizations. And so for the landowner survey, we had a lot of input from the agricultural industry. So we talked to the beef organizations, we talked to the crop sector working groups. We also have had a lot of input from organizations that represent hunters. And in fact, that's actually where most of the funding for both of these surveys have actually come from, is from the Alberta Fish and Game Association Minister's Special License Program and the APOS Wildlife Management Fund. So both of those organizations have been key in terms of helping to cover the costs for this work. And so I'm hoping that as a group, the agricultural sector group, the hunting organizations, ourselves, we will all be learning something, and it can feed into our dialogue, I guess, going forward, and also help to guide programs going forward to promote positive relationships between landowners and hunters.
So if a hunter is out there listening to this, wants to participate in the survey, how do they go about doing that, Robert?
Yeah, so we're looking for input on this survey from pretty much any hunter who's ever bought a hunting license in Alberta. Now, where our focus is on hunting on private land, but we want to hear from everybody. So if you've had positive experiences with hunting on private land or negative experiences, even if you don't hunt on private land very much, you do most of your hunting on public land, we'd love to hear from you too. So in terms of actually accessing the survey, so probably the best way is just to keep an eye on our social media posts. So if you follow Alberta Conservation Association, we'll be having posts on Facebook and other social media that will provide a link to a web page on our website. So that's the other way, is you can go to www.ab-conservation.com and just do a search for hunter access, and I'm sure that you'll find that if you don't find it through social media. But then from there will be a little bit of a background on the survey that we're doing. There'll be a link to the survey, and then again, there's sort of some background information that we want to just make sure that everybody knows, what type of information we're collecting, and that they're okay with that. And then once you get into the survey, then you have the opportunity to share your experiences. So,
and in terms of a timeline, when would you wrap up the survey component of the questionnaire?
Yeah, so the questionnaire is going to be open to hunters starting on December 1st, 2021, and we're going to wrap it up on December 19th, 2021. So that gives hunters, almost 3 weeks. Most people, if they haven't participated by that time, they've had the opportunity to participate, but we don't want to get too close into the Christmas season. We wanted to wait until most hunters were done, probably the majority of their hunting, and had some of those good experiences, and then things sort of fresh in their mind. But we also don't want to get too close into Christmas. So that's sort of the dates that we've got: December 1st until December 19th.
There seems to be a bit of a trend, Robert, in terms of collecting more and more information about hunting activities in Alberta. Of course, you folks, the Alberta Conservation Association, partnered with the app, the iHunt app, through the University of Alberta to collect information on big game, what people are seeing out there. Now we're trying to tie in hunting opportunities. What kind of a picture are you hoping to present in terms of hunting here in Alberta?
Well, I mean, hunting has played a really important role in wildlife management in this province and really across the country and across North America. Hunters have played a really important role in terms of funding conservation in North America. In a lot of cases, some of the early conservation initiatives were actually spearheaded by hunters who saw things happening, out on the land while they were hunting with species, and they wanted to see things done about it to ensure, the long-term conservation of species. And so hunters have played that role for a long time, and still continue to play that role in terms of, sharing what they see while they're out hunting, sharing what they see and their concerns about habitat, contributing through licenses to fund conservation projects or to support things like the Minister's Special License Grant. That all comes directly from hunters and money that comes from hunters. And so Alberta's done actually, relatively well in comparison to some jurisdictions in terms of maintaining our numbers of hunters. Some other jurisdictions have seen declines, whereas we've sort of managed to hold our own pretty well. But certainly it's something that across North America, there has been concern about wanting to make sure that, as society changes and as we get busy doing all kinds of other things, that we maintain, new hunters coming in to take the place of hunters who, end up retiring or no longer participating. And so that's kind of one of the things that we want to see promoted, because we really feel that having a healthy hunter population is really good for conservation.
Well, and getting that information from hunters firsthand goes a long way to helping better understand our impact on that wildlife environment, for sure. Again, folks, keep December 1 in mind. Go and follow the Alberta Conservation Association. All the information will be posted to their website and other social media platforms. Robert, thank you so much for your time. And we will certainly be following up with you probably sometime in the new year to see what the response and, more importantly, what kind of information you have gleaned from this interesting survey.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate all your support, and also anyone who forwards this on and encourages all their friends to participate as well. The more we hear from a broad range of hunters, the better our picture of the situation is going to be.